Hey guys, it's your girl Rachel Real, and I'm back with another video. I'm so excited about the word that God gave me. I'm gonna get right into it, but I just wanted to welcome any new people. Recently, it's been really giving when it comes to the subscribers. Keep on subscribing, keep putting your post notifications on. I really have been really appreciative of the growth of my channel, and I'm just believing God for more growth. So that leads me right into our topic today. So today we're going to be talking about choosing righteousness over riches, and we're going to get this from the book of Ruth. And I promise you, by the end of it, you're going to be like, yes, this all came full circle, because I really did my homework. Okay. All right, here's Ruth. Okay. So Ruth is a short book, okay? And peep how I'm getting right into it, because I don't like long intros on YouTube videos. Ruth is a short book, and it's a very, it's just get to the point, God being great, and it's a story. So it says, and this is my kombucha, by the way, which you will see me sip from time to time. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name was Naomi, and the name of the 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. I hope I pronounced that right. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. So basically, let me just give you a little bit of background information. At this time, right, there was a famine in Bethlehem, so there was no food. Like, Bethlehem was down bad. And basically, Elimelech was like, I'm going to take my wife and my sons to Moab. But this was not like a common practice. This was not like what you're supposed to do, because the Moabites didn't fear God. And that was just a thing. Like, don't go somewhere where they don't worship the God that you worship, right? I just want y'all to keep that in your mind. Now, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. They don't even say how. And she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. So definitely starting on a very grueling note. It kind of reminds me of like Frozen, when the parents just died in the beginning. I'm like, I didn't even get to know them. But that is all they say about them. Like, that is literally just boom. So let me give a little context again. Moabite women, to these people, they're not women that you go and marry. Because, like I said, this is a place that has a whole different God, and it's just, they're seen as unrighteous in Bethlehem at the time. Keep that in mind. So when Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on a road that would take them back to the land of Judah. So basically, Naomi's like, okay, Judah got food again. God blessed them. So it says, then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. So basically, she's like, go back to your mom's house, go find you a good Moabite man and settle down and get married. Because context, again, at this time, you know, if you didn't have a husband, it was almost like going outside, leaving your wallet, your phone, your, like everything. Because men were the ones who kind of made deals and moved in society. And just because of how they thought back then, you don't have a husband, you need to go get one, basically. Some people believe that because they were Moabite women and they weren't seen as righteous in Bethlehem, it's almost like Naomi was like, listen, this is your chance to find a husband. Not because she wanted to leave them, but just like, don't come with me. God has obviously turned his back on me. Like, my husband, my sons died. Like, go and start your life in Moab, right? And kind of knowing that, like, for them to find a husband in Bethlehem was really unlikely. Orpah and Ruth were both sad, but Orpah then kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. And listen to what Ruth said, okay? She said, don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, but there I will be buried, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. This is a loyalty that I have never seen. I'm like, she literally was ready to be like, ride or die. And she just basically was like, Naomi, I'm not checking for the Moabite men. I want to be with you, like you are my mother-in-law. And she just felt this loyalty to Naomi, and she clung to her. She wanted to stay with her. And so Ruth made a choice. That's something I want you guys to keep in mind, because it goes along with the whole theme of choosing righteousness over riches. Ruth made a choice to go with Naomi, knowing that it's not likely she'll find a husband in Bethlehem, and that she could easily go back to Moab and find a man because she's a Moabite. Ruth goes with Naomi. She comes back to Bethlehem. People are looking at them like, they say, can this be Naomi? Because when she left, she had her husband and 2 sons, and she comes back with this Moabite woman. At this time, I just want to highlight that seeing 2 widows together was kind of like, what? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, where's Elimelech? Where's your sons? Why do you have this Moabite woman with you? Like, now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a man of standing from the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. Basically, what they mean is that Boaz was wealthy. Okay, they said he was a man of standing. In other translations, it says like a wealthy man, a rich man, and basically Boaz, like, he had it. Okay, he had it. So it says, and Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor. So at the time, like, there's a rule that says if you are to drop grain, don't pick it up. So people would follow the harvesters and like pick up any grain that they basically dropped. She says, Naomi said to her, go ahead, my daughter. So she went out into the fields and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. So Boaz is related to Naomi's, late husband. And Boaz sees her and he's like, yo, who that? And they were like, she's a Moabite. So Boaz said to Ruth, my daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you, and whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled. At this, she bowed down with her face to the ground, and she asked him, why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner? And Boaz replied, I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. This whole thing was so orchestrated. If you go back to when Ruth said, the God you serve will be my God, your people will be my people, it's almost like that loyalty that she had, she like walked into her favor. She almost like made a promise that like she is gonna walk into this favor just because of the love she had for Naomi. But you see that when she gets there, favor is waiting for her. Okay, so keep that in mind. May I continue to find favor in your eyes, my lord, she said. You have put me at ease by speaking kindly to your servant, though I do not have the standing of one of your servants. She knew. So at mealtime, Boaz said to her, come over here, have some bread and dip it in the wine vinegar. So this is a different type of favor, okay? Boaz was on her. Right here, it says, as she got up to glean, Boaz gave order to his men, let her gather among the sheaves and do not reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up, and do not rebuke her. So in different translations, it says, drop some grain on purpose just for her. And so after she left this field, she went home with what they said was like 30 pounds of grain, 30 pounds of like threshed barley, which was like a lot. That was what they said from my research is like a month's worth of food for her and Naomi. And like I said, like when you're a widow, it's like it's hard. It's just a harder life. You don't have your husband. You don't have the person who's supposed to go and hunt and gather and get, that thing. So it's like, this is a big deal. And so when she comes home, Naomi's like, oh, you must have found favor with somebody. What's his name? Like, girl, who is he? Then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one whose place she had been working. The name of the man I work with today is Boaz. The Lord bless him, Naomi said to her daughter-in-law. He has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead, she added. That man is our close relative. He is one of our guardian redeemers. I'm going to give you guys a little breakdown of what a guardian redeemer is. For some people, it may be like, he's a close relative. What you talking about? You know what I mean? So the first thing I want to clear up, the first thing I want to say is that, was there incest in the Bible? Yes. However, this situation is a little bit different, and it's different for two reasons. So the first reason is that Ruth is not directly related to Elimelech. You know what I'm saying? She is Naomi's daughter-in-law. She married into the family through Naomi's son. But this is Naomi's husband, Elimelech. This is one of his relatives. So it's like they're really not closely related. But I'm not going to say that there was no incest at that time. It was the times, okay? I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm saying it was the times, okay? The whole idea of a guardian redeemer is that in Leviticus, God said that if one of your fellow Israelites is to become poor, right, or be in a bad position, what's supposed to happen is a close relative is supposed to redeem them by buying whatever they're selling. So at this time, it was basically like a looking out for your relatives, keeping your family line going. So it's like Naomi has the land that belonged to her son that Ruth married, right? And he died. So she has this land. So in order to bring Naomi back up in status and have her get some money, her close relative is supposed to buy the land. And because Ruth was his wife, the close relative will also marry Ruth so that the line could continue with the same last name and all that. So basically, it's a system, okay? I just want to address that because I don't want to pretend like I'm like, oh, like there's nothing in the Bible that makes me go, what is going on here? But yeah, basically, I just wanted to clear that up. She says he is our guardian redeemer. That's a big deal. It would be good for you, my daughter, to go with the women who work for him because in someone else's field, you might be harmed. So Ruth stayed close to the women of Boaz to glean until the barley and wheat harvests were finished, and she lived with her mother-in-law. So she kept living with Naomi. Basically, in chapter 3, Naomi tells Ruth, like, okay, girl, this is it. You need to go to Boaz and let him know that, like, you want to be married. And so she said, go present yourself to him. They're feasting. They're in good spirits. Go present yourself to him and let him know, like, you want to be married to him. And so she says, she laid down at his feet, and she says, in the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. Who are you? He asked. I am your servant Ruth, she said. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. The kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of town know that you are a woman of noble character. Let me just say, that is a big step up for a Moabite woman to be seen in Bethlehem as a woman of character. Because, like I said, this is someone who came from a land where they don't serve the same God. And at that time, that's like a no-no. You don't do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? She wasn't wifey material. But it's like now she's known to be a woman of great character because of this righteous act, this choice she made to stay with Naomi. He said, although it is true I am your guardian redeemer, there is another man who is more closely related than I. So basically there was another person in line that was supposed to redeem them, first. And so Boaz is basically like, yes, I would love to marry you. Like, I will do it, whatever you need. However, there is someone, and I just want to check in with him, make sure everything cool. So he goes and gets the other relative, and he's like, basically, bro, like, Naomi, she down bad right now. Like, she needs help. She needs some money. She got this land that belonged to Ruth's ex-husband, and she's trying to sell it. The guy was like, oh yeah, I'll buy it. Like, what's up? And then he was like, oh yeah, and like, a part of the whole land thing. Like, you got to marry this Moabite woman, you know, not a big deal, whatever. And he's like, oh, I can't do that. So he was like, yeah, it would endanger my estate. So then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among our family or from his hometown. Today you are witnesses. So this was like common practice. This is an honorable thing to do at this time. And like I said, I just want to point out, obviously a different society that we're living in now, but this is how they kept like their lineage. Like, this is how they did things to like help each other out. Okay. Then it says, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. They're like giving them blessings, right? So then the last part of the book says, so Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. When he made love to her, the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The woman said to Naomi, praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons, has given him birth. Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The woman living there said, Naomi has a son, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. So this is the end of the story, and this is where I'm about to like tie it all together, okay? Remember, there was a point where Naomi said, God has clearly turned his back on me, you know, and she went even deeper and said, like, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, which means bitter, because like she had a bitter taste in her mouth about her life, which I would too. Like, you gonna take my husband and my sons? Like, why would you do that? But the thing is, right, you see how God redeemed her through Ruth, and now she has Obed. They say in a different translation that she raised Obed like her own. So this woman who lost her 2 sons now has a grandchild, and like is so, I'm sure, elated about this. So that's one way that God redeemed, you know, someone in the story, Naomi. But I really want to talk about the way he redeemed Ruth, because like I said, Moabite woman, not considered wifey material in Bethlehem, but because of the choice that she made, she was seen as righteous throughout the land. And also, God redeemed her even further, which is what I'm about to get into, okay? So you remember the part where I said, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David, right? So we go to Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. There's the genealogy of Jesus. So this is Jesus' family, okay? Salmon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Obed, the father of Jesse, and Jesse, the father of King David. So that's a part of the first, like, there was 14 generations, and they were broken down in 3 sections in Matthew. So the first paragraph, this is where they mention Boaz, Ruth, and Obed, right? If you drop down to the third one, because I wasn't going to go through all these names, but if you drop down to the third one, you get to Mathan, the father of Jacob, and Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, and Mary was the mother of Jesus, who was called the Messiah. So not only did God redeem Ruth from, you know, regular Moabite woman, could just marry a Moabite man and go on with the rest of her life, he redeemed her to be called righteous, right? And then he redeemed her to royalty. This is a royal lineage because you got King David in there. You got Jesus, obviously the biggest like name. Like, that's the best notoriety you could get. Like, I am in the family line of Jesus. Someone in my lineage gave birth to Jesus. That's a big deal. But like I said, she started out as a Moabite woman who wasn't even seen as righteous. That's what I want to get into. I'm not even going to go long because, like I said, this was one of the This was one of the words where I just got straight into the word. There's times where like we go through like different analogies and different stories, which is great, and I love doing that as well. But this is a time where it's just like the word, I read the story and it just spoke for itself. One righteous decision, Ruth choosing to do what she felt was right and not leave Naomi behind, even if it meant not ever getting married, even if it meant like, I'm just gonna die in Bethlehem, a place that's not even where my family is from. I don't know anyone there. I don't even know the God. I don't know any of the customs. It's like she left all of that because she felt she needed to be with Naomi. So you could say it was similar to a calling. She felt, I need to be with you so strongly that she was like, I will live where you live and die where you die. There are times in this life where we have a choice and we could choose the job where it's like, oh, you're not making as much, but you're making a difference, or you're working with kids or something like that, right? And then you have a job where it's like, oh, you can make so much money, $100,000 a year, right? That would be the better choice economically, right? But you feel that your heart is pulled towards the children, even if it means I'm not going to be a rich man, you know what I'm saying, or a rich woman. When you choose to do what God called you to do, when you choose to step into that righteous act and just make that choice, right? Not only will God bless you, because Ruth was blessed, Boaz was letting her take as much grain, take as much water, like he gave her favor. But not only did he give her favor, he gave her a husband in a land where it was not likely she would get a husband. God made it so that she could conceive, she can have Obed, and not only that, but her name will always be mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus. Like, look at all that she got because she made the choice to go with something that wasn't really economically what was good for her. It makes me think about my life, my YouTube channel. Obviously, if you would have asked me years ago, Rachel, what do you want to do with your life? What are you going to be doing? I didn't know what I wanted to do. But it definitely wasn't Christian YouTuber, okay? Like, I'm going to let you know right now, it was not, oh, I'm going to be a Christian YouTuber. I'm just going to, like, go on there and talk about God and, like, hopefully people watch. I'm sorry, but I did not have that foresight. I was not thinking that, right? And so even coming out of college, it's like everybody asks you the big questions, like, what are you going to do? Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, oh, like, probably, get a corporate job and whatever. But do I honestly see that for myself? No. I've been drawn and led to nonprofits. I have always worked at nonprofits, literally except one job. Like every other job was a nonprofit. And I love making a difference in people's lives. So children, teenagers, like I just love to know like this person's life is a little less miserable because we're helping them at this organization, right? And I feel that that's where Ruth's heart was coming from as far as Naomi. It's like she knew I may not get economically where I may want to be, right? Going with a widow was a very risky decision as a widow herself, right? But Ruth at the time put herself to the side and decided to do something that wasn't maybe the best economical choice for herself, but it was the best thing for her character and her peace of mind. She knew, I need to be with you. Like, you're a widow, you need someone. I'm not just gonna leave you, your husband and sons died, And when she chose that, God elevated her so much. So if anyone's watching this and you feel like, God has a calling for you that is like something that may not make sense to others, other people may be like, why would you want to do that? Like, you could go do this and be so much whatever. It's like, if you know that God has called you, I just want you to know, I'm not trying to force anybody to make decisions based off a YouTube video. But what I'm saying is, I want you to know that when Ruth went with her heart and she went with what she knew she had to do, God met her there. There was favor already waiting for her. This story really encouraged me because it helped me to realize that choosing to do this, choosing to be obedient to my calling, it's like God is gonna elevate you. You don't have to go and try and make it work and go viral, or like go and try and like round up subscribers. Please subscribe to me. The favor is already there, and I can feel it myself. So I just wanted to encourage you guys, like always. Um, I'm not a pusher. I'm not a Christian who's like, do this or you're not gonna go to heaven, or do this, or I'm not that person. I'm just a person who likes to inspire, encourage if I can, and I really believe that God gave me this word for a reason. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love getting on here. Like, this is honestly like a highlight of my day. I just hope that you guys are enjoying the content. Please leave a comment if this word spoke to you. And yeah, that's it, guys. So until next time, keep it real.